For some reason, it feels like it's been a little while since I last casted a Protoss versus Zerg. Now, I'm sure it's only been like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks or so, but lately, it feels like all I've been casting is Zerg versus Terran, a little bit of Protoss versus Terran, some TVT as well. Today, we're gonna have a look at a Protoss versus Zerg, because this is the finals of the ESL Open Cup number 185. And that means that this is gonna be a best-of-5 series, where in game number 1, we find ourselves on the map Altitude. Now, spawning here in the top right-hand corner of the map, playing with the red Zerg drones from South Korea, we have Solar, and his opponent playing here with the blue Protoss pieces from Denmark in the opposite corner of the map. He is MaxPax's. Alright, MaxPax versus Solar in a best-of-5 series. Both of these guys, of course, incredibly good at the game. For the next few games of this particular series, I will probably be skipping the first few minutes. I mean, I'm gonna check if everything is normal, but both of these players, generally speaking, do play a very stock standard approach. MaxPax, of course, storming onto the scene the last couple of years and really showing himself right now as one of the very best Protoss players in the world, if not the #1 Protoss. He really has been incredibly impressive. Most of the Protoss players out there seem to be struggling against Terran, but MaxPax, he's been having a good time. He's going to be going for the Stargate opener right here against the Zerg in game number 1, okay. Really not much of a surprise, of course. I would say we probably see this build, maybe 6, maybe 7 out of 10 games. I think that's about fair, 60, maybe 70%. The thing is, on a map like this in particular, when it's so big, it makes a lot more sense to go for a Stargate opener. Like, what are the alternatives? Well, for example, glaive adept builds, right? Those are pretty popular right now, where you shade your adepts across the map and you're gonna try and deal a lot of damage. The problem with that build is that on a map this large, I mean, maybe the opponent doesn't expect it, so you could get a little bit more value out of it, but on a map like this, it just simply takes longer for your units to get across the map. And the Stargate in general, it seems to be the most popular build and the most comfortable build for Protoss players overall. One nice advantage, of course, of the Protoss versus Zerg Stargate opener is that you don't necessarily need to deal any damage on the other side of the map. So it depends, of course, on how many oracles you decide to go for, but with a lot of the other builds, like say you go for like a Disruptor drop opener or Dark Templar into Archons or the Twilight Council stuff that I was just talking about with the Glaive Adepts, you don't really get to expend until like maybe 4.5 minutes at earliest. Whereas with a build like this, we can take the third Nexus right about right now, which is 345 or so, depending on execution. You can see that MaxPax is real clean here, so you should be able to get it down at 345. Boom! Aw, MaxPax not making me look smart. Full second late. I can't believe it. Anyways, this is, of course, still a very good time right here for MaxPax's. It's gonna allow him to get that economy going nice and early. With the other builds, you're almost forced to deal damage because your Nexus is a little bit delayed, but with an opener like this, I mean, any damage you deal, it's essentially a bonus. Normally, the follow-up from here is gonna be a Twilight Council together with a Forge. Now, there is some variety as far as those follow-ups go. For example, you could be going for Archons into charge slots. That is a pretty popular build. You can also just double down on the Oracle production. You can go into Blink Stalkers with double upgrades. There's quite a bit of variety, but like I said, the early game of PvZ is very well figured out, assuming the players don't really make any mistakes. And that was excellent defense. Oracle coming in from the side right now as well. You can see that Mr. MaxPax here is actually controlling his units individually. And up to this point, at the very least, he hasn't really lost anything. So we're gonna go up to the third Oracle. Now, are we gonna... Okay, I was gonna say. Are we gonna make a fourth Oracle as well? A Foracle. I would like to see it. I actually think Oracles are really sick. Some of the very best units that Protoss players have at their disposal. And honestly, Zergs don't really get a whole lot of anti-air going earlier on into the game. I mean, maybe we'll see Hydraling Bane eventually, but most of the time, it seems that Zergs just sort of stick around on Ravagerling Bane in a lot of their games, right? And Oracles are fantastic. Not just in the early game, but also in the mid game. Alright, so it's gonna be a fourth hatchery over here for the Zerg. Solar going, well, up against a bunch of... Okay, up against a bunch of Oracles here in the natural expansion. Does manage to keep all of those Oracles alive. MaxPax that is, but he's decided to go for the quick +1 melee upgrade. This is, of course, always good. Few Adepts right now also showing up. This is mostly just to force the Zerg to make a whole load of Lings, and any Link production at this point is sweet for the Zerg because it's just super annoying. They want to be droning at this point. Honestly, MaxPax is off to a flying start here. Look at the worker count right now at the bottom of the screen. 63 for Protoss versus 49 from Zerg. And he's barely lost anything. I think he only lost like 2, maybe 3 Adepts. Yeah. Fantastic beginning here. Zerk did make all of these links, though. The question is, can they get something done? I think these oracles should probably be recalled. He decides to reactivate the pulsar beam, but I wouldn't mind seeing those units being used at home for the base defense. Stalkers are really the only line of defense, but apparently, well, Solar is not feeling confident enough about pushing through. Maybe when he finishes up the +1 melee, but that's still a little while away, and by the time that he really gets, well, these units upgraded, I've got a feeling that the Protoss army is going to be much too big. So fantastic start right here for MaxPax. Honestly, just outplaying one of the very best Zerg players in the world. And that's been a theme in MaxPax's play, right? So sometimes we have a player that storms onto the scene and they really make a name for themselves, but they mostly do so off of cheesy strategies. MaxPax started off like that with the MaxPax build, I suppose. You may remember the double pylon into Gateway on the other side of the map. He still plays that every once in a while in Protoss versus Terran, but he is genuinely one of the very best players in the world. And like I said, maybe he's even the very best. I have been incredibly impressed by MaxPax. I've also been a little disappointed that he doesn't play offline tournaments, but I've ranted about that in previous videos. I don't really want to get into that once again. Okay, he's decided to split up the Stalkers here. Target firing down the Queens. This is going up against a bunch of Zerglings here, right? But with the Stasis Ward set up, those Zerglings can't really chase him very easily. Okay. Man, he's microing incredibly well, though. He's literally only lost the depths up to this point. Look how much the Zerg has lost. Solar does have the eco advantage once again, of course, because of the fact that he's got himself smooth warp in as well. Perfect positioning there on everything. Mostly because he, of course, has that larva mechanic. It's going to be Hydraling Bane here indeed from Solar. So no Ravagerling Bane, but those Hydras really aren't particularly useful until they get their upgrades done. And at this point, well, the first one is coming, but it's going to be a while. And I think MaxPax is probably just going to pile on the pressure. Bailing Walk By over here. They don't have the Centrifugal Hooks upgrade just yet. Perfect blink once again. Look at that. He didn't even move the probes. He's like, you know what? I don't need to. In the meantime, there's a fight happening as well on the other side of the map. Stasis Ward over there gets triggered too. Oracles. This is what I'm saying, man. If you had a fourth Oracle, would that not just... Okay, maybe in this instance it would not be better. But a lot of the time we have Ravagerling, and I've got a feeling that against those builds, adding on a few more Oracles is not a bad idea. This is double upgrades, by the way, on the back of this. Charge now coming up as well. A recall right there being used on the Stalkers, and the Protoss army here is growing. Okay. So, +2 is finishing up for the Zerg very soon, together with the Centrifugal Hooks upgrade. Protoss is not going to be going up against Hydras that are speedy Hydras, but this is still going to be a very scary attack right here from Solar. And in a sense, it almost is a little bit all-in-y. Like, he needs to deal damage with this, otherwise it is very hard to justify. So far, this fight is going excellently, but here come the roly-polies. Okay, probes do get pulled away. Looks like they're gonna try and seek a refuge over here in the natural expansion. Mineral walking through that Stalker at the front, microing that over here too. Bailings briefly thought about blowing up that Stalker altogether, but not happening. This is still a very scary attack though. Colossi are coming up right now. We have a sentry over here available. Beautiful stuff, man. Genuinely, look at MaxPax, like a world-class Protoss. And maybe I shouldn't be so surprised, but like I kind of thought, you know, a couple years ago, that the players we were watching at that time were going to be the players that we were going to be watching at that time for the foreseeable future too. Right? It's very difficult to break into the scene because these guys have thousands upon thousands of hours of practice. And in order to beat them, you essentially have to get that practice as well, right? Now, obviously some of the older guys might be getting worse. Maybe they get physically a little slower, maybe mentally they slow down a little bit, and MaxPax is still a young player. But yeah, it doesn't happen very often that we have like it's been a few years, so maybe I shouldn't be talking about him as a newcomer, but it is really, really cool to see. Now, I want to briefly talk about the Colossus. As of me casting this, there is a bug in the game. I don't know which particular version of the game this is played on, but there is a bug with the extended thermal lens upgrade, and it accidentally gives one more range than it's supposed to. I don't really understand how this bug happened, and up to this point, actually, I wonder if this is out of respect. MaxPax is actually not researching it. Perfect Stasis Ward over there as well at the third base. Solar at this point, though, still with a supply advantage. He probably should be getting the ranged upgrade for those Colossi, though, because it does really make them a whole lot better. Anyways, there's a bug, and there are custom maps that basically remove them. They're supposed to get one less range from the extended thermal lens upgrade, and it really makes a massive difference. Now, I think against Hydraling Bane, though, Colossi are going to be fantastic. Yeah, currently they don't have the extended thermal lens upgrade yet, and maybe this is something that MaxPax realizes right now too, as he's dealing once again with a massive army. 10 drones were killed over on the other side by those zealots. I feel like I've seen banelings spend more time in stasis wards than I've seen banelings in general. Look at these lads over here, just taking up position, ready to take the brunt of that damage. Now the extended thermal lens is coming indeed. I think MaxPax may have just not been able to afford it. Hydroling Bane though gets absolutely destroyed by Colossi. And at this particular instance, I don't think he really even needs the range upgrade. I mean, this is dangerous though. That base is running very low. Can he get on top of it? I mean, the Nexus eventually does fall, but charge slots. Clean up that army on the left. I mean, Solar, especially after the early game, he was not playing poorly, but MaxPax just simply played better. Next up, we find ourselves on the map Gresvin. I fast forwarded through the first 2 minutes of the game just because everything is normal. MaxPax decided to send that probe out super early to block the Zerg's natural, and Solar was forced to take the third base first. Now the Twilight Council is done, or sorry, the Cybernetics Core is done, and we're gonna be going into the Stargate. Okay. So basically an identical opener to the previous game. And I don't really blame MaxPax for that at all, right? I mean, Solar did play a really excellent mid-game there, but his early game just wasn't as crisp as it could have been. So if MaxPax can once again execute that early game in, well, much of the same way, I think he's gonna feel pretty good about himself. You could technically go for a Phoenix build. Like, Phoenix builds are also something we see from time to time, but you have to go double Stargate Phoenix, and it allows Zerg a lot of freedom. I do think it's a cool build, but generally not super popular against Zerg right now. Yeah, MaxPax doesn't really reinvent the meta, I guess, right? Like, maybe the MaxPax opener in Protoss versus Terran, that was pretty cool to see. He doesn't really necessarily come up with his own strategies, although he does give his own twist, I suppose. Okay, that's a small little mistake. I know that's very minor, but it may very well cause this Adept to lose its life. Yeah. A little bit too much surface area where he first shaded in. Second Adept is gonna be moving away. We don't really have that many links though, but link speed is finishing up. Oracle? Not sticking around at the third base. I think it should actually hang out there for a little bit, because the links are on the offensive here. Previously, he decided to keep that Oracle at the third base for a little bit to try and take it, but yeah, now, okay, it's not just gonna be a single Adept loss. It's gonna be two of them. Maybe even a third. Probably not. Okay. Yeah, so now the third Nexus is very delayed here for the Zerg, or sorry, for the Protoss player. The Zergs wish they could make Nexi, okay? Anyways, maybe getting one drone would be nice. I don't think, though, that sending this Oracle straight across the map for a single worker kill justifies delaying the Nexus by half a minute. Maybe this can get a little bit of work done. Good targeting right there. Okay, 4 workers in total certainly is already a whole lot better. Another Oracle will be popping out very soon. And there's the lair started up. So a little bit of a different timing this time around here for Solar. Last game, I believe, I mean, I was focusing very heavily on the Protoss in the early game, but last game, I believe, Solar decided to go for a Evo Chamber first, and he went into the +1 melee upgrade, probably right around this time. This time around, he decided to go for the lair first, and he hasn't gotten an Evo Chamber. Nor does he have a Baneling Nest, he doesn't have a Roach Warren either, so we'll have to see what he decides to go for here with that lair. He hasn't added on any additional gases here, so I don't think it's gonna be a Muta opener either. Maybe it's just straight into a Hydra then, once again. Oracles, actually. Ooh. I thought the Queens had already successfully pushed them back. Okay, that's a small mistake, though. Not flying away with that Oracle as efficiently as he could have. Okay, still, that's 9 workers in total for an Oracle and 2 Adepts. We did see a lot of value, though, out of those Oracles as the game progressed. Pulsar Beam not activated yet. Oh, probes. Okay, they do manage to sneak back to safety. It's also very close, but in the end, a lot of the Zerglings here actually die, achieving very little. Oh, that's what we're doing. Okay. Solar decides to put down the Nidus network. So we've rushed up towards the lair, 42 drones, 1 gas, and just mass Queen Zergling production. Now, this is a beautiful scout right here by MaxPax, who now sees what he's playing against. Problem is, though, he needs to still commit a lot of his defenses. I don't know if he's clicked on it. He may assume that this is like a Hydra then or something like that. I mean, He's kind of under a lot of pressure here. These Stalkers end up getting surrounded. That is also a bit painful. There's the Nidus Worm going up inside of the main base, and Queens are already popping in. If you pop the Queens in first, there are also the units that pop out first. And obviously, if you have Queens with energy, they may very well be able to transfuse the Worm itself. But that was excellently done right there by MaxPax. Another Nidus Worm a little bit further back, a bit more conservatively positioned. Photon Cannon starts up. I do think, by the way, that MaxPax scouted it right away, but he just didn't warp in because he wasn't too concerned about it. He realized, you know what, I don't have to have units occupied in my main base. As long as I have 2 Stalkers ready to go, I can always accompany them as well with the Oracle. So, question is, though, isn't this still just way too much Zerg? Battery overcharge is going to be really critical. We have energy saved up for that. Keep in mind that there's still that Overlord in the back of the main base too, and exactly, that's what I was thinking. Another Nidus Worm right now is growing inside of the main base of the Protoss. The Queen's already trying to, make a beeline back. Battery overcharge has been forced here. There's only 1 Stalker available, second Stalker does pop out, and it is going to be the end right there for that OV, but already the Nidus Worm is unloading units, and this is a bit of a disaster. +1 and Blink are about 10 seconds away. I don't see how they're going to be able to... The probes are pulled, man. That actually surprises me a bit. I mean, he's losing quite a few of them, but not really that many. Anyways, as long as those upgrades finish, which they did, this might still be playable right here for MaxPax, but he's going to take a lot of damage. Keep in mind, though, this is a very committed all-in right here by Solar. He can macro his way out of this if he deals critical amounts of damage, but he's really not planning on it. He's trying to gobble this Protoss base up from the inside out. Stalkers being microed back. Excellent control here by MaxPax. Honestly, his Blink Stalker play is just absurd, man. I haven't seen Blink Stalker play this good since Parting went off to the military. And I wouldn't be surprised if his Blink Stalker play actually is better these days than, than Parting at his peak. Always hard to say, right? Because it's an entirely different era of StarCraft, but... Okay. So we are slowly starting to get rid of these Zerg units. The Queens are mostly out of energy. There's still some transfusions available. Fair enough. A lot of the Protoss infrastructure has been destroyed, but it's still 126 lings. And Solar has started droning up again. I think the Nexus here is going to go down, but we've already got another Nexus here building at the 9 o'clock position. We can always retake this as well. Okay, aggressive Blink forward, trying to just, prevent these units from escaping, and quite a few units have gone down. Still, the crisis management here from MaxPax is clean, right? Like, that wasn't perfect, but I actually think this is a very playable game right now. Even though it all feels a little bit funky, he's rebuilt the infrastructure over here. I don't think that anybody really needs any confusing, but this really is some world-class Protoss play. How many times do we see Protoss players at the pro level even panicking, right? Just not microing very, very good anymore. I think the only way you can really get good against these sort of openers from Zerg, because they're not super common, is by grinding out a stupid amount of games. Like, when you have a ton of games played and you've seen this strategy hundreds of times, you will at some point figure out exactly what the best response is. And despite the fact that he didn't respond perfectly, I think he should have had like 1 more Stalker in the main base to shut that worm down before it laid eggs. I think the crisis management there was excellent. Anyways, don't get me wrong though, this is certainly an advantage right now for Solar. He's got himself a good amount of stuff, but he's not actually gonna go and just macro his way out of this. I mean, he has added on quite a few drones, he has added on a 4th hatchery as well, but now he's once again back to unit production. So I think he may very well be thinking about redoing another attack, this time around though with Roaches and Ravagers instead of Lings and Queens. Okay, Lings actually sneak in, nothing over here in front. Good warp in over here though, by the Protoss. +1 armor has been fired up as well, and if this game goes on for a lot longer, Protoss is gonna get the upgrade lead. I mean, he already has it, but +1 is only, a single upgrade. Zerg does not have any Evo chambers. Oh, beautiful control. Beautiful. I would like to see some Archon play here, I think. Now the Roaches finally show up. Can we blink away, please? Blink, 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 blink. Oh, it's on cooldown. Okay. Anyways, I think Archons would be a pretty good addition here because we do have a lot of gas available still from the earlier stages of this game. Let's see, where are we at over the course of this game? Okay, so yeah, Zerg right now with a massive army. 120 versus about 60 supply. Nidus Worm, number 4. going up outside of the vision range. Now he does see the, he does see the Overseer here, so there's a good chance that he did figure out what is going on. Not a whole lot of units, though, available inside of that Night Swarm, because the majority of this Zerg force right now is right here at the front. Sonic Storm is indeed coming up, by the way. I think High Templar and Archons would be really good. Zealot Warping in the main base to try and push this back, but Solar is on the hunt. Look at that concave, though, by the Protoss player. Excellent positioning right there on the shield battery, too. Getting back to the safety of the battery and reinforcing the shields on those units. Stalker Warping in the main base. Since it's hard to focus on multiple areas at once, though, I do believe that MaxPax has lost quite a few units here inside of the main. Solar right now, for all intents and purposes, maxed out, but he is just trying to go for the sledgehammer approach, and I think he may very well be getting it, yeah. Taking down this base would be sweet, but it would still not be the end of it, though. MaxPax still at 70-something workers versus Solar, who's got about a dozen less. Night Swarm over here allows Solar to just reinforce this really quickly. Wouldn't be surprised to see another Nidus here in the main base as well very soon. Now the Protoss units here have 1-1. Zerg still fully unupgraded. Do we have any High Templar? No, we do not have a High Templar, but we do have Sonic Storm finishing up. +2 has started up as well for MaxPax during all of this. I think in his mind, that's probably his main way out, right? Like those Stalkers and Zealots, they're trading pretty efficiently, mostly because he's got better upgrades. He's taking a very Zergy approach to fighting the Zerg here, just trying to overwhelm them with stuff. Worker count still very high for Protoss, though. Now quite a few of the probes are, starting to fall. Oracle there gets sniped out of the sky, too. Imagine if we had that one Oracle from the earlier stages of this game that got sniped in the Zerg's main base. I mean, I know it's a small thing, but it probably could have been in the main base, killing a bunch of the Zerglings and Queens when the rest of that fight was happening. Cybercore in a little bit of trouble. Shutting down the Cybercore here would prevent the Protoss from making any additional Stalkers, and that one is indeed going to go down. Stalkers, Sentries, Adepts. All of those units, they do require a Cybernetic score, so MaxPax is going to be reduced to High Templar, into Archons, together with Zealots. Now, he's finally rebuilding it, but that does mean that, we're not going to see any Blinky boys getting warped in for quite a bit. Storm? Hello? Storm? 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 Okay, that was a misclick. Nexus here is going to go down. Nice control by Solar, who's probably trying to figure out why his opponent won't die. I've got a feeling he would have won this game ages ago against literally anybody. Maybe we're gonna have to figure out what the Danish word for the wall is. Watch out, Showtime. This man is playing like a... well, like a wall. Okay. Robo Facility coming up. +3. Also researching. Now finally Zerg has decided, you know what, this game hasn't ended yet. I guess I need to be a little bit cautious and get myself some of those upgrades going. But we have +1 started around the same time as Protoss started +3. And there's already an armor upgrade there in the mix too for MaxPax. The creep really needs to be dealt with, but now we've got Storm. Storm against Lynx and Banes? I mean, there's still potential here for MaxPax. Okay. Good movement right here, though, by Solar, coming in with an excellent concave. He wants to prevent this base, and he does indeed force the cancel. Lovely work. That creep over here, right? From that worm. That's, super nice. The Queen's laying down the tumors, just trying to be annoying. Decent storms over there. Okay. Does end up getting one of the Archons. And I think in the end, Solar is squeezing out a win here. Yeah. These fights are looking better and better and better for the Zerg. Nicely done right here by the Zerg player, though. Just relentless with this aggression, right? Wave after wave after wave of units. Here comes a big Zealot Warp in, though. Okay, trying to get some work done. All of the High Templar at this point are gone. So that means that these Banelings are going to have a really good time, since there's no Storm to really stop them. And I wouldn't mind seeing them just go after whatever they can. I mean, the Protoss army's still looking kind of big, though. I feel like we've been seeing a 50 supply lead for Solar for the last 5 minutes or so. Like, his army has been big, but despite being pretty much at half of the army supply, maybe even less than that, MaxPax is holding on. This shield battery, dude. I don't know exactly if it's just this one, but I feel like this guy over here has gotten a lot of value. 12 kills as well on that photon cannon. Nidus Worm once more going up in the main base, and Zealots are going to be charging at it. Okay, he's going to try and shut this down too, because apparently that is going to be a necessity, but that may very well mean that the Worm is going to finish, but there's nothing inside of it, and all of the Changelings are gone. Protoss once again venturing out onto the map, this time around with an Observer. We have got Storms available too. Archons in the front, ready to soak up as many of those Banelings as they need to. This is not GG yet. I mean, I feel like it's been GG a while ago, but... Oh, if these Archons are going to be able to soak up a bunch of those Banes, there's actually still a chance. Once again, backing up to the safety here of this wall off. Protoss coming into, yeah, a very difficult convex here, right? So Zerg getting a lot of surface area there, but still difficult to break. If MaxPax wins this game, dude, I'm going to have to look up what the word for the wall is. It's die Mauer in German. It's de Muur in Dutch. I feel like for Danish, it's probably not that much different, but I might be entirely wrong. Okay, Zealots here just trying to alleviate some of that pressure, right? Zerg has been so aggressive for such a long time that MaxPax hasn't been able to really go for his harassment. Archon there ends up going down. New Nexus acquired. Yeah, so this is a very difficult spot. And I just don't see how Protoss is ever going to be able to mine that. Problem is, at this point, Zerg... Yeah, he's coming in from a really nice angle here. Zerg can mine whatever they like. Ooh, okay. Corrosive Bells just barely don't connect. Protoss is going to start running out of minerals pretty soon. So if these fights go on for another couple minutes, MaxPax is going to be forced out onto the map. He can't really fall back anymore to this wall off. I mean, he's just simply going to run out of juice. And Solar knows it. Okay. Getting rid of some of the probes at this point would not even really be the end of the world. Although, yeah, you don't really want to lose him. Okay. That's still not a bad trade, though, for the Protoss. Trading a whole lot of minerals and gas for just a little bit of minerals. The Zealots here are mostly just a supplemental unit. Okay. A couple more Archons once again. We continue blinking after this army. My god. Nah, this is still game over. There's no way. Yeah, this is gonna be the final straw. Relentless aggression here, though, from Solar. But you can tell here that MaxPax is bleeding out because his economy is just not big enough. Oh, well, the Danish word for wall is a little bit different.
Væggen. Væggen.
Okay, that's not what I expected at all. Alrighty, Ancient Cistern, game number 3 in this best of 5 series. We've got ourselves a Nexus on the low ground, Cybernetics core finishing up. Of course, that means I decided to fast forward a little bit, just because I want to see where this game is actually going to go. So, is MaxPax once again going to go for a Stargate opener? He doesn't have the gas for it right now, but he decides to cancel the Warp Gate research and go into the Stargate play. This is a very small little play that Protoss players like to make. So when you first finish up the Cybernetics core, usually the Zerg with this little Overlord here, it is peeping, man. The Zerg is going to be peeping at that Cyber core, and you don't actually have the money yet to go for the Stargate anyways. So what a lot of Protoss players like to do is start up the Warp Gate upgrade a little bit so Zerg can see the animation change. They see that something's researching. Then they cancel the Cyber core when they want to go for the Stargate, and then they very quickly restart the upgrade. It's a very small thing, but if Zerg is not paying very close attention, they may assume, because the Stargate is 150 gas rather than 100 gas for the Twilight Council, the Robo facility, they may assume they're not playing against the Stargate. Did that make any sense? I feel like it made sense in my head, but there's a good chance that it did not make any sense when I said it out loud. Anyways, what I'm trying to say here is that Protoss players are cheeky bastards. They catch me off guard with those sorts of play all the time. Okay. You're gonna be living your life on this pillar now. I'm sorry, buddy. This is where you're gonna be living your life. That being said, though, Solar, of course, a lot better than me. I don't think he is really gonna be caught off guard. Nah, he's already ready. Look at this welcoming committee. Queen on either side of the hatchery. And he'll see here. Yeah, well, he's seen the Oracle right now, too. He'll see here a probe moving very soon, I would imagine. So we're gonna go for the Nexus over here. Now, interestingly enough, this Nexus is actually a little bit mistimed. Yeah, if you can get the probe, that would be huge, but... So 345 is when it could have gone up. That's about the time that he queued it up as well. I think he may have accidentally not selected a probe or something, and He assumed it was going to be moving on over towards the third Nexus location, and then he was a little bit late. Okay, anyways. Solar going for the +1 once again. This should definitely be the +1 melee upgrade, just like in game number 1. Okay. Let's see. The Nexus delay does kind of suck for the Protoss, but it's nothing all too crazy. 1, 2, 3. Don't lose an Oracle for it, though. Okay, that was way too greedy. Yeah, no, I don't like that move very much. Just because a lot of Zerg players don't retarget with Spore Crawlers doesn't mean you can't. So at this level of play, you will see the Zerg players actually retargeting with the Spore. So what he tried doing there was shuffling the high HP Oracle to the front. But of course, Solar was ready to snipe down the low HP one. Don't even actually know if it was the Oracle there. Or, sorry, the Spore Crawler there. But anyways, these Adepts may still be able to get some work in. 5 drones, it's still not bad. There's an Oracle here in the back still as well. That one's got 5 confirmed kills all on its own. And I think it is going to try and just sneak through the center of the main base all the way back. Getting the denial on that base would be massive, but not going to happen. In the end though, where exactly are we at? Well, 8 drone kills, 1 Oracle. And Protoss with a very nice economy at this point. Pylon here to re-wall this in. Oracles are coming back, so this Stalker, even if it does end up going down, it will be avenged. At least by a couple. Okay. So this time around, we have a little bit of a deviation. Rather than going straight into the Blink upgrade, MaxPax decides to prioritize the +1 ground weapons together with the charge upgrade. So this is actually quite significant, because this will likely lead into an aggressive push here for MaxPax in just a little bit. Normally, a Zealot, when it's attacking an unupgraded Zergling, so an unarmor upgraded Zergling, it takes 3 attacks to kill a Zergling. With the +1 melee upgrade, however, the +1 ground weapons upgrade, this is a nice little block here, it takes that same Zealot only 2 attacks. So against Zergling heavy armies, and that's exactly what Solar is going for, these Zealots with this one upgrade are going to be substantially more powerful. Hydroling coming up right now for Solar, who's going Hydroling Bane. Obviously, Banelings are fantastic, though, against clumped up Zealots in particular. There's the +2 melee fired up as well. That will allow him to one-shot probes if we get to that stage in the game. Oracle's flying back in for more, but they're not really going to be able to get much done. MaxPax going for a 4th Nexus, it looks like. Although it almost seems like a bit of a fake to me. I might be mistaken, but yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, he could have built it. He could have built it and he decided to warp in a big round of Zealots instead. Now, this is an awkward little exchange. Okay. Anyways, we have both the Templar Archives together with a Robo Bay, and this is something that the Overseer will be able to scout. Nexus does indeed start. This can be a little bit scary, though. He has seen, yeah, that something was building here, but it got cancelled, and now it's a Hydra Den. This could certainly be Spire play, and Spires are really scary in this particular instance. If suddenly a bunch of Mutas hit the battlefield, there's really not a whole lot that Protoss has to deal with it. So he's gonna go for a bit of a pincer attack, it looks like, or at least like a surround. This Nexus may be in some trouble, but there's a fight over here at the front that I do believe our Protoss is gonna be able to win, and at the same time, the Zealots here, okay, they're forcing the drones to run. Banelings split off from the rest of the pack. Really love that Guardian Shield. That's going to reduce the damage of those Hydras substantially, assuming the units are actually inside of it. Nice little bit of micro backwards as well. Lings over here are taken care of. Drones are falling on the left side in the meantime. Okay. We do have a Prism. Okay, I was going to say, where did it go? Prism over here in the natural, just warping in a couple Zealots. Very low HP on that Prism, but as long as it's got a bit, that's all it really needs. Queens here end up falling. Got a feeling that the Prism is gonna stay alive if it decides to get out of here, but okay, nice little bit of harassment there by MaxPax, but not super successful. Still, a lot of lost mining there for quite a while. Yeah, and that's exactly why we have this roller coaster over here. So Zerg was a little bit ahead, and then he had to pull the drones, and that allowed the Protoss player to get a slight advantage as far as the economy goes, but only a temporary one. And catching these units in the middle of the map is massive. Getting the Stalker right there together with the 2 Archons, really, really good for the Zerg. Okay, now, he has this thing in the main. He does see the research. He does see that he's going up against, well, something from the Robo Bay. It pretty much is always going to be Colossi. So Colossi with extended thermal lens are very dangerous, once again, to Hydraling Bane. Especially with the bugged upgrade. Although I don't know, again, if this is going to be 10 range or 9 range on those Colossi. Either way, MaxPax is going to have to play defensively for the next couple of minutes. And I've got a feeling that he is the man for the job. +2 is done, though, for the Zerg. So that means that these probes can get one-shot by Banelings. He sees the Colossus right now, even if he didn't quite realize it yet. I mean, he should have realized it. Are we going to be able to shut this down as well? Stasis Ward, not grabbing that much, but good pool. At the same time, we do have a roll-by over here as well on the right side of the map, but it looks like the majority of the probes managed to get away. Careful now. Ooh, that was almost a disaster. I think if Solar decided to turn around there, he could have gotten the entire clump. Instead, though, just a small group of Protoss units here is holding against a massive wave of Zerglings, Banelings, and Hydras. I mean, we did have a couple Zealots on the other side of the map as well, just trying to be annoying. They did end up getting quite a few kills, but I do think that this game was still quite playable for Solar. The problem is, right, there's gonna be a Protoss counterattack, and he does not have a Hive, he doesn't have a Roach Warren, so there's really not much he can do about the Colossi. I wouldn't have minded, though, seeing him stick in the game for a couple more minutes, because you never know. Maybe you can get lucky and roll a couple Banelings into the mineral line, and suddenly you're back in. Royal Blood. Game number 4. Stargate opener once again here for MaxPax, who's now once again rolling around the map with those adepts, trying to just be as annoying as possible, and we are going straight into the harassment. How many minutes is too many to skip, guys? Let me know down below in the comment section. When do you think I should start a follow-up game in a series like this? I mean, I know some of you like it when I cast from second 0, right? And we just, well, start at the very beginning of each of the games, but we've now had the identical opener literally every single game so far. There's a certain moment, I think, where everybody's like, okay, like, oh, we've seen this before. And that's the advantage of YouTube, right? Rather than casting live. Anyways. There's probably a moment, though, where I should be, yeah, not fast-forwarding all too much. Maybe 2.5 minutes was the cutoff. I think I was a little bit later this time around than 2.5 minutes. But anyways, Oracle coming up right here. We're going to go for a Nexus here at 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Albeit with a little bit of Zergling aggression right now, too. Oracle is straight across the map. I actually wonder if maybe those Lings could have gotten something done. Problem is that there's already Adepts on the other side, too, and Solar decided not to take any risks. Yeah, he wants to surround those Adepts over here in the natural, while at the same time dealing with those Oracles as well. And, well, the first one is going to be able to get a bit of work, okay? 1 kill. Nothing all too crazy, but this one's going to be back for more. Okay, 2nd kill as well. New Oracle is going to show up here at the 3rd base, and this could be a problem. Okay. Don't lose too much. He's going to sneak out, okay, an exit right here through the natural expansion of the opponent, but not going to happen. Lings, in the meantime, harassing this base, but, yeah, they can't get too much done. Okay. Here's the forts in the Twilight Council once again. Is it going to be Blink? Is it going to be Dark Templar? I mean, I'd be very surprised. Or is it going to be Charge? Probably Blink or Charge. If I were to be a betting man, I think that would be the standard play almost every single time. Okay. So, Twilight Council is going to finish here, and indeed is going to be the Blink together with the +1. Now we're going to add on the additional gateways. Lair, fired up here for Solar. Pretty late, all things considered, especially since he didn't actually have an Evo chamber taken earlier on. He could have started up that upgrade, or that upgrade in the structure, I guess, a little bit earlier if he wanted to, but he's planning on playing defensively. And if you're playing a defensive game, you don't necessarily need to go for a super sharp lair timing, assuming you don't take that much damage. Now, at this point, we're once again up to double digits, right? Like, we've had 2 Adepts going down, 10 drones. This Oracle harassment is showing us exactly why Oracle play is so popular. I feel like for a while there, the top-level Protosses weren't really getting any value anymore. Like, if you see, for example, if you see MaxPax going up against a Serral, a lot of Protoss players are not finding any more than like 3, maybe 4 worker kills against Serral. So I'm not exactly sure what Serral does differently compared to, for example, Solar here. But Solar is, yeah, taking a lot of damage. For a while there, I felt like most of the top level Zergs were just, yeah, not taking damage anymore from those Oracle openers, or at least not enough to really justify going for them. But even though this build has been around for a couple of years now, Protoss players apparently still refining their movement, right? And you can see there's some feigns as well where he's pretending like he's leaving, but then he's actually showing up for more a little bit later, trying to force the queens to go one direction. I guess the main thing that we see different right now compared to like a year ago is that we see little groups of oracles behaving as individuals rather than as a group together, right? So, for example, right now there's 3 oracles, but one of them is with the main army. You never really know exactly the angle that these units are going to be coming in from. Anyways, here we go again, the harassment. And this is dangerous. The more damage you deal earlier on as a Protoss, the more dangerous this follow-up is going to be. There's a stasis ward in the back. Another stasis ward coming up as well. Excellent micro once again. 4th Nexus here building, by the way. Actually, no, it's not building. It's already done. I saw it on the production tab a little bit ago. I figured it wasn't going to be finished yet, but I think he actually decided to take it over here. Wow, is that a rage quit? Okay, I think he was building it on the left side of the map just so he could reinforce this fight a little bit quicker, but I think Solar is realizing here that he's getting outplayed really hard in the earlier stages of the game. And he just does not feel like continuing this battle. He knows after game 1 and after game 2 where this game is headed if he's not careful. And even though game number 2 ended up being a win, I feel like it's mostly because that second Nidus Worm went up in the main base. Like, if that one got shut down, if he had, like, an extra warp-in available, MaxPax probably would have won that map as well. Anyways, in the end, it is going to be MaxPax who obtains the victory 3-1 over Solar in the grand finals of the ESL Open Cup number 185.